In today's To Your Wellbeing, we are talking about sleep. This weekend, we get an extra hour as daylight saving time comes to an end. While many are looking forward to that extra Z or two, others are wondering just how it may impact getting a good night's rest on the days following. Neurology and sleep medicine specialist Dr. Carmen Dohmeier is with Guilford Neurological Associates. And so we're going to start tackling this whole falling back. Dr. Dohmeier, first, how does falling back impact your health? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it a little bit of both?
For most people, it's positive. We are a chronically sleep deprived or sleep restricted society, though an extra hour is really on general welcome.
Yes, I definitely think to myself, I would like that extra hour of sleep, but then it kind of maybe hits us a little bit later on. So are there steps that we should do leading up to Saturday night to make the transition easier?
So the transition is really much harsher in spring when we are, waking up an hour earlier and deal with not with an hour extra, but with an hour less of sleep. So there we would usually tell you, go the week before and go half an hour earlier to bed, so you're not having this abrupt change by a whole hour within one day. For the autumn time change, it's really not as necessary. Most people have no trouble going to sleep at the same time and actually welcoming that extra hour in the morning. It shouldn't have any negative impact.
Okay, I think to myself as an adult, I totally get the extra hour of sleep. I don't know that the dogs get it. And what about the kids? How can you help prepare your kids?
So anybody who has a good inner clock will probably wake up when they usually woke up during summer savings time, daylight savings time. So for those that are early risers, enjoy the extra time that you have to yourself. I do not expect kids and dogs to be listening necessarily to our adult sleep needs, but in general, there is no preparation that
Nothing
is
really that you
helping
can do.
your four-legged companion. And your kids may go to bed a little later for a couple of days in advance in order to need that sleep, but again, most kids need it too.
Need the extra sleep anyway. All right, what if you end up in that small percentage that has a little trouble falling asleep the week after the time change? Are there certain things that you can do to help?
Yes. I mean, the things that are good are avoid caffeine, avoid alcohol before bedtime. Those are usually, they may put us to sleep or allow us not to sleep too early, but on the other hand, they interrupt our sleep as we are sleeping. So they don't give us more than 4 or 5 hours of good sleep usually. Instead of waking up with a headache or with tachycardia, try melatonin, 3 milligrams or less, if you want to sleep longer and have trouble falling asleep. Keep your bedroom dark to enjoy sleep. Don't go and sit in front of a screen just because you woke up in the middle of the night and cannot go back to sleep. Screen light is our enemy number one of continuous sleep at night.
Okay, well, that's my follow-up question. So you're in bed, you're awake, you wake up in the middle of the night, you don't know why. What do you do? Do you stay there in the bed? Do you read a book? Do you turn on a light? What should you do?
So if you turn on the light, that's not necessarily bad. Make sure that it's kind of a glow, golden, warm light, welcoming. I wouldn't, LED lights are not good to sleep with. And read in a book with pages, or read a magazine, something that is not too exciting but distracts you from the compulsive need to fall asleep. So the more you fret about it, the less likely you actually fall asleep, because it increases your anxiety.
All right, what about if you're in that group that wakes up an hour early because that internal clock hasn't made the transition? Is it something where you should try and make yourself stay in the bed so that you can hopefully by the end of the week stay asleep, or should you just go ahead and get up?
I think give yourself 15 extra minutes and then get up. The next couple of days it will be another 15 minutes. You will adjust gradually over time. Usually a week is enough.
So let's talk about how important a sleep routine is for adults and then for kids.
It is important for both. So a sleep routine should include a set bedtime and a rise time. And we should try to stick to it. So it will be very hard for shift workers that may have a different plan schedule every week. But in general, if you have regular work hours and you have regular hours, in which to be expected to leave the house and return back, your routines should not vary that much day by day. Also, not weekday by weekend.
Okay, so the routine should not be different on the weekends or holidays or?
Not much. So if you give yourself an hour longer in bed, that's fine. If you give yourself a nap, but a power nap, something that is 20, 30 minutes, but not longer, on a weekend that you normally don't get on a weekday, that is fine too. But we don't want you to stay, 2 hours on Sunday afternoons and nap and then have trouble, getting to bed, sleep, getting good restorative sleep for the week that starts again next Monday.
Right, because then it just starts that whole cycle all over again. That's bad. All right. So at what point should someone be concerned that their sleepless night might be more than just the time change or too much caffeine?
If you persistently wake up and feel that you have not been refreshed, restored, or you wake up every night and have a period of 1 or 1.5 hours to be awake in the middle of the night, those are interruptions that warrant looking at your heart rate, maybe ordering a sleep study, but certainly look at your habits. Do you drink alcohol before bedtime? Do you drink a lot of caffeine, and when? If your caffeine intake stops around lunch or kind of within 1 or 2 hours after lunch, and you are going to bed at 11, it shouldn't be the caffeine. But if you drink afternoon caffeine, and think about it, that caffeine is not just in coffee, but in tea and in sodas, that may be what you need to cut off in order to sleep through the night.
All right. So COVID impacted the mental health of many of us differently, as the seasons had come and gone. So there was anxiety, there was depression. How can that impact your sleep, and what should you do about that?
Anxiety, depression, going to bed with worries and being not able to switch your mind off are the perfect stressors that create insomnia. So it's very hard to be stressed and sleep well. What we can do is really to learn to delegate our worries. So maybe have a notepad next to your bed and just write down what ideas you think you need to implement the next morning at work, things that may have interrupted your routine otherwise. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself that you will not solve that problem tonight and tomorrow is another day. But for some people, it may mean anti-anxiety medication or counseling.
Okay. So, we hear every single time when cold and flu season comes through, it's really important for you to eat well and to drink water and to get a good night's sleep. So let's talk about why getting a good night's sleep is always one of the top 3 things that we should do to fight cold, flu, and COVID or whatever else.
To get good and deep sleep helps your insulin production, so it helps diabetes, it helps you with your metabolism. So in the fight of obesity, it's helpful to get good quality sleep, deep delta sleep. Depression is usually improving if patients sleep very well. Lowered immunity is a factor of stressors in general. People that wake up a lot, toss and turn, don't get consistent sleep, are more likely to catch infections and not be able to fight them. Is it necessarily a COVID, prevention? No, I wouldn't go that far, but your immunity is worse when you're stressed, and insomnia is usually a manifestation of stress.
And so therefore, get a good night's sleep and do whatever you need to do to set yourself up for success. Like what you said, have that routine.
And the routine should include perhaps a hot bath before bedtime, a routine that is relaxing before bedtime. Prep yourself to get into that zone where you actually like to go to the bedroom. Sleep in your bedroom. Don't, have 2 or 3 hours on your couch in front of your TV and then transfer to the bedroom. Right there is a programmed fragmentation of your sleep that doesn't allow you to get as much.
Yeah, you're talking to a lot of us right now with that one, with the falling asleep on the couch. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise. If you missed any of this, you can check WFNYnews2.com.